Today we're going to talk about a few things. I'll cover our goals at the end, but I wanted to start with why PMF is important. I know you guys might have ideas of why. I think early on in the network, we had this philosophy, for better or worse, but I think in blockchain, this is true, where a lot of people feel like if you build it, they will come. But that is only true if you have strong product market fit. And so I wanted to really iterate why this is so important in our ecosystem. Or a more sinister way of looking at it is, without PMF, your startup or company or service will wither and die. So this is incredibly important because if we can't find this, it's going to be challenging for us to survive. And so I really do think this is, to validate what other people are feeling, this is a really important topic in our ecosystem. So I wanted to cover really quickly the 3 days of the PMF track. Today, we're going to talk about aligning on product market fit. A lot of people use this term. I want to make sure everyone's thinking about it in the same way and on the same track. This was something that we also realized. There was a lot of differences in how people think about it in the weeks after Brussels when we started talking about PMF. We're going to cover Filecoin service classes, help people understand why this is important, and also SLOs. On day 2, we're going to talk about understanding client profiles and personas. This was something that came up in the previous exercise where a lot of people just wanted case studies. They wanted data. They wanted to really understand the pain points. And so we're going to really cover examples from existing folks onboarding clients. We're also going to hear from what are the top personas we're seeing come out in the market, and also talk about what are the future opportunities we also want to think about and what features are important to them that we may or may not have in the Filecoin roadmap. And then on day 3, we're going to have a lot of time for additional brainstorming. We're going to have rooms where people can break out and really look at making sure we have next steps. A lot of times we have great ideas and great discussions, but if we don't have someone that's a taskmaster really following up and having a next step, it's really hard for us to be able to achieve these goals. And so we really want to assign DRIs and make sure we can come with clear deadlines. So the first question I wanted to ask is, how long do you think it takes to achieve PMF? Anyone have an idea? It varies. And you can see here on this graph, some people find it in 6 months, some people find it in 5 years. It really varies, and it's different for every single product. And so I wanted to share this because I think some people might feel like Filecoin has PMF. Some people don't. I want to survey the room. Who feels like we have some form of PMF? Who feels like we don't? Okay. What about the other everyone that didn't answer? What? You're unsure, right? So I think this is why we wanted to start off this session with defining what PMF is everyone should be able to answer that question, yes or no, we using the same metric. And so I have another question here. Do you need a lot of money to achieve PMF? Yes, no? Not necessarily. So who here knows that emoji behind me? What is that emoji? What is that emoji called? Yes, so Hugging Face, for those that don't know, they actually used to be a chatbot for teenagers, and they were running out of money. They had only raised $5 million. And while they were trying to figure out PMF for their chatbot, they decided to crowdsource and open up the models they used to build this chatbot. And that's how Hugging Face actually took off. And so I wanted to use that example because sometimes PMF, you might find it in the most unexpected of places when you are trying to solve another problem and you realize, wow, this is actually a really hard challenge that nobody else is able to solve that we spend so much time doing. And then I wanted to kind of close here by saying, over the last 3 or 4 years within the Filecoin ecosystem, we've done such a good job in spinning out and building a ton of startups. Some of you guys have created a lot of the logos here. And we've also really explored case studies. This is from the D-Store website where a lot of clients go to really understand Filecoin's value proposition. But one thing that we haven't done, which I think actually came out in the last exercise, is having a clear feedback loop. If we had to draw arrows to say who's solving this, who's focused on that, it's still kind of messy here. I think you can do it for some, but other times it's not clear. So it sounds like from my viewpoint, we still have some work to do, and I think many of you guys might agree with that. And this is something that day 2 will really cover, is making sure that we have a clear feedback loop to make sure we can validate what's working and what's not. And so I wanted to end here to say, like, hopefully by our next Dev Summit or by the end of this track, you guys can really also have a sense of what PMF feels like, because it helps to know what you should feel if you feel like you've achieved it. And so I'm just throwing out some data points for other startups or companies around what PMF feels like, in quotes. Sometimes it's hitting 3 to 10 paid customers, and that's what gets the flywheel going. Sometimes it's when you have champions that champion your technology, even if the budget isn't there, right? There's that stickiness. Sometimes it's really when you actually have a feeling that you know the market's out there, you can close more customers, right? So you can find different kinds of emotions, and there's no single approach to what PMF feels like, but I want to make sure that you guys can kind of see different approaches, because there is no one single approach. And so by the end of the track, the next 3 days, and this is for day 1, we want to walk away today understanding what we mean by PMF and how we can measure it. We want to make sure that we have an understanding why SLAs are important and how we're measuring SLAs and tracking it. So we'll hear from different speakers working on this SLA dashboard. And then we'll also understand current client demand and opportunities for market penetration. So Juan actually mentioned some opportunities earlier on, and I think it's great that we can deep dive on the big markets we can go after. So with that, I wanted to turn it to John to cover a quick overview of defining PMF and how we can scientifically measure it.